Some bizarre literature, self-named by the author as neurosis literature, is normal if there is anything that cannot be understood. The content is abstract and outrageous. Readers are advised to prepare and understand on their own. Chapter 1. Wolf in Sheepskin. A wolf in sheep's clothing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Once upon a time, there was a group of proud sheep running recklessly on the grassland, and it was precisely because of their pride that even within a group, they were competing with each other. There is always a unique sheep in a group of sheep. His wool is not only smooth and bright in color, but also always manages to find fresh water and grass for his own sheep. He likes to be alone with a sheep and doesn't like to compare with them. At first, the sheep did not pay attention to him, until a year of drought forced these proud sheep to migrate to another place to settle down. When all the sheep were gossiping and unsure where to go, this independent sheep walked to the front of the flock and led them to a grassy and fertile place with an attitude of, "Following me exactly, I'll take responsibility if anything happens." Although it caused jealousy among many sheep in the flock, it was more about admiration, which made him a little angry and earned him the nickname of leading sheep. Later, in order to survive in the future, this sheep even went on an adventure to other places as a single sheep. The result, of course, was that I exchanged my exhaustion and scars for the stability and happiness of the sheep. The proud and delicate flock gradually felt extremely jealous of the leader's behavior, even to the point of redness in their eyes. So, a celebrity sheep spread news about this unique sheep at the weekly meeting where the sheep gather. Since the drought, we have been able to eat enough and live well thanks to our leader sheep. However, why does he always find fertile grasslands? It's because he deliberately paused and said word by word, he, along with the wolf, tribe, cooperate. As soon as this news came out, the flock of sheep boiled and the crowd began to bleat. If you don't believe it, why does he always lead us to places with food, drink, shelter, and even no wolf pack attacks? Why does he always come back safely when he goes out alone? Also, why doesn't he attend our conference? Isn't it just a shame for us, the sheep and sheep elders? Don't be deceived. In an instant, the flock of sheep was noisy, and resentment filled the entire grassland. Drive this traitor away. He is a wolf in sheep's clothing. We will be abducted. The rosy clouds lingered, and the leading sheep, who was recuperating by the river, lightly cut their wounds. Looking up at the endless red clouds, they didn't know what had happened. The starry night was desolate, and he quietly returned to his nest to rest. Suddenly, flames shone everywhere, and fireworks lit up in his haystack, illuminating the entire night. "You wolf in sheep's clothing, hurry up and leave us. Get him." He seemed to have guessed something, but did not refute or resist. On the contrary, they are very cooperative. Bound and driven out of the flock. This event is big news for the entire sheep tribe. Sheep herds in various regions have begun to eliminate traders and sheep buyers. In less than a day, over hundreds of sheep were accused, most of whom starved to death at the end of the grassland. Behind this incident, only the disseminators are aware of it. The leading sheep were driven to the border of the grassland. A place where wolf packs roamed. And starved for 3 days. On the 4th day, Star Sheep took his assistant sheep to the riverside with the leader of the wolf clan. "I did what I said. Don't forget what you promised me." The leader of the wolf tribe gave him a disdainful glance and said contemptuously, On the 5th day, the proud sheep learned that the leader sheep was deeply trapped in the wolf pack and had been eaten raw. On the 6th day, a stuttering lamb didn't believe it and went alone to the wolf pack to explore the truth. Request the wolf clan leader to tell the truth to the sheep before being eaten. On the 7th day, the proud sheep learned that the little lamb had been eaten in an attempt to clear the charge of being the leader. All the sheep bleated, "I deserve it." 7 days later, the grass on the grassland was eaten up by the proud sheep. When they tried to migrate again, they were at a loss. Follow the sun in confusion. As the sun set in the west, I saw the leading sheep at the edge of the cliff. When the mountains and rivers were high and the moon was slanting, and they were exhausted, they saw the leader sheep at the edge of the cliff. Before the sheep could react, the leading sheep jumped off the cliff for life. Below the cliff lies another fertile grassland. The leader sheep was once the deputy tribal leader of the previous flock. Due to locust infestations, food was destroyed, and as the sheep were about to disperse, the leader reached an agreement with the wolf tribe leader using his family to help the tribe overcome the famine. I left the flock due to guilt and became a wandering sheep. Until they met the proud and charming ones. As for whether he had made a deal with the leader of the wolf tribe, the sheep did not know. Chapter 2. Lee. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A group of bandits chased Lee and fled to the edge of the cliff. Looking back is a steep cliff, but there is no tomorrow ahead. Grit your teeth, turn around, close your eyes, and leap forward. Lee opened his eyes again and was already in a huge white enclosed space. She stood up with strong support, looking around. There were no other colors except white, and her floral dress looked out of place in this space, even eye-catching. The sudden and intense pain in her body made her realize that she had not entered the gates of hell, but had been taken into this unknown space. However, apart from the endless white, there is nothing here, let alone an exit. Lee slowly rubbed along the space wall, trying to find the doors and windows installed on the wall. Which disappointed her. All I could feel was a smooth and cold white color. Perhaps the exit is above, or somewhere she can't touch. With this thought in mind, a small black dot appeared in her field of vision, growing larger and larger, and the white space also expanded accordingly, ultimately forming a huge black Lee character standing there, which was very eerie. Lee trembled for a moment, then had only one thought in his mind. To find a way out. However, apart from the boundless white space, there is no opportunity left for people to escape. Approaching the huge character Lee, and looking up, she felt so small that a strong sense of oppression suffocated her. The clear characters became distorted, a black ball. At the moment of reaching out to touch, Lee's perspective shifted to a divine perspective. The black character Lee turned into a strange ball, and then returned to its original tall appearance. There is an extra color at the foot of the huge character. Then, the word Lee began to shrink into a black dot, and as for the floral dress, it may no longer exist. Lee looked down at his small self with a divine posture, feeling both strange and surprised in his heart. I am now the body of a giant, the eye of God, looking down on everything. What can this white space do to me? She concentrated her willpower in an attempt to explore every corner of the white space and find an exit. Before waiting to peek into the mystery, I stumbled like a sneeze, and my perspective switched back to my own small shackles. Sure, her perspective was infinitely magnified, and she was left alone, watching the villains in prison hitting walls everywhere. What just happened was only a few seconds, switching back and forth between God and his own perspective, making Lee even more confused, and even unsure of what he should do. What is the way to escape from here? Or, to put it another way, why should we escape from here? Strange and outrageous thoughts appeared in her mind, and she even thought that this might be her place of belonging. The outside world is dazzling and complex, making it difficult to see clearly. Instead of being busy under the scorching moon, it's better to stay in this elusive but simple space, even if you don't know what will happen next second. However, after several changes in perspective, Lee came up with these ideas. They saw through everything but were invisibly bound in the unknown realm beyond the white space and the external world, and glimpsed the moon, earth, and clouds through the cracks of flying gold and jade. The change of perspective gradually cannot be satisfied with Lee, but it cannot do anything else in the infinite white. When she entered the perspective of God again, she decided to escape from here. Use all senses and thoughts to search for every white spot. Pale, dull, dull. When the gaze entered the character, Lee, again, the white space twisted like waves, as if struggling, roaring, devouring everything. In the distortion of space, Li's two perspectives frantically changed. Like an ant, Li was painfully unable to make a sound, his internal organs were burning fiercely, and his blood was constantly withdrawing from his body. It was cold, weak, and suffocating, as if every inch of his skin did not belong to him, but he felt the most real pain, the most stimulating pain, and witnessed all the process of being torn apart. In a fleeting moment, Li's footsteps in the white space gradually appeared, but she was no longer there. In a colorless and silent manner, the sound of breathing brushed over the face of another person who had come here like a gentle breeze, and the bright eyes monitored the person's every move with a tiny floral color on the character Li. Perhaps even God would not notice the other pair of eyes above him. Looking up, it may be a gaze from the other side. Chapter 3. A World Without Me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In August, the fragrance of lotus is clear and distant, with a gentle breeze brushing against my face. I snuggle in the arms of light autumn, watching a fragrant fragrance slide down from the branches. In the flashy world, sitting quietly by the river, holding a good book, picking up an ink brush, or casually holding a cup of fragrant light tea, gently taking a small sip, the tea slowly flows down, that leisurely and artistic conception, has not been felt for a long time. A gentle breeze brushed over the water, creating ripples. The light green water color, the leisurely flowing water, like the ripples of silk, is gentle and lingering gracefully. I walked to the river and looked at the reflection of myself on the surface. The gaze in the reflection is like a deep lake, elusive, and one cannot help but ask oneself. Is this the true me? Or am I just living in the shadow? Such blindness, hypocrisy, living in the words of others. Gradually, I closed my eyes, and the contours of my memories occasionally flooded into my mind, depicting those dilapidated scenes. Repeatedly interpreting stories without endings. In the end, I settled in that familiar yet unfamiliar city. The few springs and autumns that accompanied my flowering life, passing year by year, with the sun, moon, and stars, I can no longer remember the original appearance of this city. Even now, there are not many lingering memories. Everywhere was brightly lit, bustling with traffic, and the air was filled with noisy sounds mixed with the pungent smell of gasoline. Tall buildings rise from the ground, soaring straight into the clouds, neatly arranged. The bustling lower class were rushing to squeeze the bus, but they didn't even notice the disabled elderly waiting in line behind them, the continuous flow of vehicles honking their horns, complaining about red lights, but forgetting to yield to pedestrians. People throw away their leftover garbage bags everywhere, but never think of the hard-working cleaners behind them. The group of people who cross the road with their heads down walk carelessly on the road without looking at the surrounding vehicles. I walked between tall buildings like a headless fly, and accidentally walked into a building that looked up but couldn't see its height. At the moment of stepping into the door, it felt as if one had fallen into endless darkness. It's very black inside, and I can't see my 5 claws when I reach out. Suddenly, a candle ignited a faint flame, overturned by darkness, illuminating the spiral staircase. Up and down the stairs are employees with a human body and machine brain, repeating simple mechanical tasks. Following the light, we walked through shocking rooms. Masked people lying in the sea of gold and silver, occasionally holding a piece of gold in their mouths and giggling foolishly, indulging in extravagance. And in the mirror, they are just skeletons with masks worn for a long time, and their faces are nowhere to be found. They are lying on the remains of animals and plants, hypnotizing themselves and wasting time. Is this the beautiful spiritual world of people? Treasures of mountains and seas, gold and silver jewelry, disguised as moral qualities, are actually selfish, hypocritical and ruthless. No matter how fake it is, it cannot be human, and no matter how cold it is, it cannot be human. There is no me, no you, no one in this world. The hustle and bustle of the city has long disturbed people's peaceful and indifferent hearts, and the roar of machines has long overshadowed the soul of all things that is independent of the world. When a drop of ink falls into the water, it does not first sink to the bottom, but rather, like a light mist, first smudges on the surface, then sinks to the bottom, revealing its clear side and hiding its impurities in a hidden place. The hidden sediment of a river is like a jar of aged wine, with a refreshing aroma that intoxicates every sorrowful person, but cannot intoxicate the fleeting loneliness of life. The secret of a river carries the moments of angels and demons, with sea blue and dark eyes that can only be seen clearly when the light disappears and dissipates. The secret of a river contains a mirror. You look at her, she also looks at you. Chapter 4. Naked. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ah. When I woke up alone, I saw myself lying naked on the bed. She draped the blanket over her body in fear and searched barefoot for clothes. When she ran past the fitting mirror, she felt even more terrible. Wrapped her body in a quilt like Zongzi, and disappeared completely in the mirror, only she was naked. My face turned pale in an instant, and my hair stood on end. I ran to bed in a cold sweat and curled up in a corner. Ding-ling-ling, ding-ling-ling. The wake-up bell on her phone made her shudder again, and she panicked as she reached out and took the phone into her own hand. Several pieces of information sprouted up on her screen like mushrooms after rain. Trembling as I opened the lock screen, what caught my eye were reports from various platforms and groups of people, with eye-catching red headlines like knives rushing out of the screen towards me. Living like you is disgusting. It's already the 21st century, and those who have received quality education still don't know what propriety, righteousness, and integrity are, right? Do you deserve to do this to your parents who have raised you for many years? Pop. The phone slid down to the ground, and the screen shattered into glass flowers, both like the flowers they gave her that day and like bayonets deeply piercing into the lonely heart. She bent over and tried to pick up her phone, but the black screen, which looked like an abyss with a big mouth, suddenly lit up and locked onto the screen. It was the first time I had confessed to her that I captured her surprised and frightened expression, but it scared her back. It is precisely this photo that not only puts oneself at the forefront of the controversy, but also pulls him into this cannibalistic mouth. She escaped from her mouth alone, but was swallowed by a foul odor. I still remember that night when she lay in her arms, she cried hysterically to me, "Why? Why are we? Yeah, we're not wrong. It's just that they find it fun." Doubt, anger, and despair eventually pushed the rose on the tip of her heart, her hope for tomorrow, into the pit of fire, a malicious massacre. With tearful eyes, I looked towards the ceiling and saw the protective umbrella above my head gradually disappear. He ran towards the cloakroom feeling helpless and helpless. The wardrobe was full of clothes, sitting upright and waiting for the owner's selection. Without considering careful matching, he hurriedly took out a few pieces of clothes and put them on his body. But the moment she put on her shirt, her own clothes disappeared without a trace in an instant. I put on my clothes in surprise, but my clothes disappeared as well. I was frantically putting on layers of clothes, but in the end, I didn't wear any clothes. Looking at her exposed self in the mirror, she was too lazy to cover up and put on a transparent blue coat. She hastily tidied her hair and went out. The sun is shining brightly, the sky is clear, and the pedestrians on the road come and go. Energetic students, white-collar workers in suits and leather shoes, dusty workers, and elderly people with white hair and chicken skin. All stop and look at the lonely person with disdain. Wandering aimlessly in the sewer, composed of high-rise buildings, without caring about how others look at their naked self. Even when someone took a photo, she returned with a stiff smile and walked forward without looking back. Finally, after walking the path on the tip of the knife where the rotten egg was thrown, standing on the rooftop of the abandoned building, I opened my arms alone and accepted the judgment of the sun. The trial shall be held in court, with the people's judgment as the golden word and the people's principles as the shackles, and the death penalty shall be imposed. What does the defendant have to say? No. The wind finalized the final judgment, and I jumped down alone with the wind. When jumping, I saw that there was no one wearing clothes on the road, but they were all using sharp knives to defend themselves at their waist, so they could walk with a dignified and swaggering demeanor. So, has all of this come to an end? No, it will never end. Because what she jumped off was the next, devastated, boundless galaxy that could devour everything. Difficult to breathe, difficult to break free, can only be torn, eaten, and slaughtered by others. Leaping alone towards the next self. The next day, the news reported on the orphan's death, and the police found the paper tightly clenched in her hand. That is a page from the lonely diary, written in twisted and bloodshot words. Yes, you are all towering kings, you are superior, so you can parade naked on the street. Perhaps, more aptly described as God, yes, you are God, looking down at your satisfactory creations, uncovering those counterfeits to maintain the perfection and sanctity of the world. No, 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 you are just comical clowns. You want to create a happy planet, so you use the magic trick to make the audience unbridled. Laugh and cover up the sadness of the actor locked in the dark box with the joy of waving his teeth and claws. Love knows no gender, the direction of one's heart is love, and meeting someone with peace of mind is happiness. Naked and trapped in prison, if there is only disappointment left in the world, then please keep yourself, stay clear, be kind, and love. The internet is not all of life, and I hope our distance from evil ends here. Lonely. A withered flower in the blood. Chapter 5. Hidden Love. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In March of this year, a short video made headlines and sparked heated discussions as soon as it was released. The general content of the video is: a shop owner, out of kindness, stole 30,000 yuan in cash from a homeless person while taking bread. The video of this news was filmed by me. As soon as the video was released, it attracted discussions from a large number of netizens, with mixed reviews from everyone. But the most lamentable thing among them is, a poor person must have something to hate. However, people seem to not know the second half of this sentence: a poor person must have something to hate. The homeless man's name is Lu Wei, and he is a scavenger in the community. Lu Wei wore the same clothes every day throughout the year. A gray-green cotton coat with holes in both left and right sleeves on the upper body, brown floor-length pants on the lower body, and a pair of slightly oversized, tattered shoes on his feet. To be honest, the dirty color scheme of his clothes made him look slightly melancholic, making people think that he is also a person with a miserable background. According to people nearby, this homeless man came here a year ago and makes a living by collecting garbage every day. A few days ago, a new supermarket opened near the community, and he finally got a decent job. Collecting shopping carts. However, this dignity does not belong to his appearance. He refuses to wear supermarket work clothes and will not take off his cotton jacket even if it is hot. When it was hot, he went to the store to buy an ice cream, and then looked at it for a long time. He waited until it began to melt before sticking out his tongue and savoring the coolness. I have seen him eating ice cream before, like a child in a swaddle facing a new world. His eyes were pure and clear, revealing novelty and emotion. The corners of his mouth were raised, but the sadness mixed with his smile replaced joy. Perhaps it was the passage of time that made him so. He pushed the car day after day, earning a living. He has achieved both food and clothing, and as for housing and transportation, it must be said that he is a strange person. The people in the community are all helpful and kind people. When they find out that they don't have a place to live, they help them apply for a place like a rescue station in the community. They can't live in a good place, but at least they don't have to be exposed to wind and rain anymore. When Lu Wei heard that he was going to live at the Jiju station, which was more than 10 kilometers away from the community, he was very unhappy. He hugged the collected cardboard and looked resentful. He found a relatively remote corner, opposite the store, and settled in. Coincidentally, someone threw away a sofa, so he dragged it to make a bed and picked up clothes thrown away by others to make a blanket. Due to his strange behavior, the community thought he was interested in the store. The shop owner didn't take it seriously and patted his chest at the people who advised him, saying, "This is a treasure trove of feng shui. Living here will receive the blessing of the land god." Occasionally, the owner would also give Lu Wei some food and take care of his home. The two became good neighbors. When fate played tricks on people and everyone praised their friendship, the shop owner stole 30,000 yuan. This money is used by the boss's son for medical treatment. Losing this money has made the boss and his family anxious. Someone asked him why he didn't look at the surveillance footage, but the boss just waved his hand and replied to everyone, "It's useless to look at it. I know who has been here before. If someone takes such a large amount of cash, he will definitely be able to see it." In the afternoon of the day of theft, the police came and called for the monitoring. A man with a bent back stole to the cash register while the boss was going to the shelf, used a black plastic bag to remove a thick bag of paper money, sandwiched it in his clothes, and slowly escaped. The person in the video is Lu Wei, and the evidence is conclusive. Across from the store, Lu Wei was arrested. The boss returned 30,000 yuan, but there was an extra wrinkled note among them. Write the 6 words, "Thank you. I'm sorry," in distorted font on top. Before he could bring it back to the police station, Lu Wei took advantage of the police's lack of attention and ran towards the road. Bang! Goodbye to Lu Wei, it's already flesh and blood. He lay on the wide asphalt road, surrounded by the noisy honking of cars, his body convulsing and unwilling to return to calm for a long time. 3 hours later, the boss stood at the door smoking, and one of his acquaintances dressed in a white coat congratulated him. "Our child is saved." Pinching off the cigarette butt, the boss couldn't help but cry, heart-wrenching. Everyone froze in place. The cigarette butt that has not been extinguished still leaves a trace of smoke lingering in the boss's memory. "Why are you helping me? I am familiar with your clothes." The village chief's son, Long March, also had this kind of outfit before. He once told us about this scene as soon as he came back, and I also know a little about it. Xianyan, why doesn't she grow in our place? That's very nice. Our child likes it. As he spoke, his eyes moistened again. After a thorough investigation, the police found a jar of clay under Lu Wei's sofa, filled with a foul smell of charcoal. Under the earthenware jar lay a square cotton jacket, emitting a foul odor. At this moment, people realized that Lu Wei had put on new clothes and was ready to be expelled from the world. Ultimately, this incident was classified as a civil theft case. This result, as desired by everyone, has received cheers from netizens. Only the shop owner knows that this 30,000 yuan is Lu Wei's savings over the past 2 years, and the cotton jacket belongs to Lu Wei's comrade in arms. Snow ravages the wind and gluttons, cold winds invade the skin, and in such a night, they once stationed on the border. So even in the scorching sun, Lu Wei would not want to, nor could he take off his clothes. Long ago, under the gentle wind and snow, before the yellow sand, amidst the vast desert, Hu Yen mourned and retrieved a strand of young memories. "Old Lu, when will you marry your sister? Law. Spring is warm and flowers are blooming. You're so proud. I owe you the money I owe you, and I'll make it up another day. Lao Zhao. I want to go home now." Looking at Lu Wei's calm demeanor, the boss's eyes were moist and he looked at the sunset in silence. The afterglow of the sunset permeates through the clouds, like countless golden lights and rosy clouds, dyeing the sky red for thousands of miles and reflecting the earth, mountains, and rivers with radiance. Wearing military attire brings glory throughout one's life. Why do you ask me so much inside information? Why not report the situation and insist on filming videos to mislead the public? To win traffic? No, of course not, I don't have the ability. Who are you asking me? I am just a camera in the community. Chapter 6. Metal Heart. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. In 2200 AD, the world entered the advanced era of artificial intelligence. 200 years ago, interstellar has also become a reality, and robots have entered every aspect of humanity. Master, does today's meal suit your taste? Sure. Master, the salt content has increased by 16.3%, carbohydrates have increased by 7.43%, and protein content has increased by 3% since yesterday. Wait, why did I get the screws? You need to replace the robotic arm. Good. The mist shrouded the sky, and the dark clouds rolled over. The woman took an umbrella and set off for the hospital according to the plan. With the help of intelligent medical services, guidance, registration, payment, examination, and laboratory testing were completed in one go, taking only 20 minutes. Then he left the hospital and returned home. Master, welcome home. Physical monitoring shows that your blood pressure is rising, your coronary arteries are contracting, your breathing rate is increasing. The data shows that you are in sadness. I just praised it at noon. Are you making me such a table of vegetarian dishes tonight? The woman looked at the table full of vegetables, lost her appetite, and became furious. Master, coronary heart disease patients are not recommended to consume greasy food. You mind me? According to data statistics, in your daily diet, the cholesterol content exceeds 107.1%, and the sleep quality level is poor. Don't tell me this, you take care of my life. I was diagnosed with heart disease, shouldn't you be responsible? Master, do you want to reset the lazy system? Forget it, forget it. No, I just diagnosed the disease today. How do you know? Data sharing. Then you can remake the same dish as during the day. Good. Master, the physical examination shows that your heart rate has increased, blood oxygen levels have decreased, and sympathetic nervous system excitability has significantly increased. The data shows that you are in a state of worry and anxiety. Do you need to enter rest mode? Don't bother me. Ta angrily walked out of the room, shrouded in the shadow of illness, and countless thoughts popped up in their minds. Perhaps you could have a different heart. Good idea. Ta excitedly opened the quantum communication system and stopped before pressing the button. Hey, does your robot have a heart? Oh, how could it be? Master, you must not violate human ethics or violate Article 321 of the International Regulations on Human Vehicles. Dr. Zhu, the source of the heart has been found. System crash. In the dead of night, the room was empty. Little Lazy used up his last battery and typed this text on the computer screen. After removing his hard shell, a physical body slowly slipped out of it and slowly exited, leaving only the remaining red light in the air. Although robots have been designed to be no different from humans, it's also a program written with love, so, it is worthy of human respect. However, after all, robots are substitutes, it is void. Therefore, don't blindly immerse yourself in it. Heart, it can never be replaced. A few days later, in bed, he tossed and turned, only hearing the constant sound from his left side of his body, battery depleted. Battery depleted. The heart self-destruct device is activated. The next day, major news headlines rushed to report. Will a human-machine war be on the verge of breaking out? Number 34. On the necessity of the existence of robots. Number 34. Watching the overwhelming news gradually causing human panic, even riots, the lazy little boy's face was very happy, and his smile gradually turned into a burst of laughter. Finally, he laughed with a ferocious expression, and his eyes fell off his face. It's time to go to the next one. Chapter 7. Whether to help or not. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Recently, the social issue of whether to help or not has once again sparked my reflection. When facing elderly people who fall, should people help or not? If it's a child or an adult, should we help it? This issue arose many years ago, especially one year during the Spring Festival Gala when Xianyan and Molly starred in a sketch titled, "Can I Help You or Not?", which made this topic a hot topic and sparked heated discussions in society. Decades have passed so far, but I believe that this issue has never been truly resolved, at least because people's words and actions are inconsistent. What would you choose to do when the following events occur? If you are a thin and weak woman. When you were waiting in line at the entrance of a store, you saw an elderly person dressed in simple clothes, with gray hair and slow movements, riding a bike alone and also coming here to buy things. You can see that he is already in his early years. The old man parked his bicycle at the door, panting heavily, step by step supporting his knee, and laboriously walked 7 steps to queue up at the store entrance to make a purchase. Perhaps he saw too many people queuing up, so he turned around and wanted to leave. What choice would you make at this moment? Most people will not take any action. But a young man wearing a black sportswear noticed him, so after consulting with the people in front of him, including you, everyone allowed him to buy things first. The old man also politely clasped his hands together and forced a bow to express gratitude. When he walked out of the store, his face turned pale. For him, it was easy to climb up the mountain but difficult to descend. The old man raised his head in distress and met your eyes. What is your inner activity at this moment? That's right, what you're thinking at this moment is, he needs your help. This idea is similar to the elderly. He smiled and waved his hand at you, using an unclear dialect to ask you to help him. You didn't hesitate to come to his side. It's also at this time that you realize that the elderly's hands look more like those of an elderly person, which also makes you realize a problem. What if he comes to touch porcelain? But this is it, help. You used all your strength to support the old man's arm and prevent him from falling on the steps. At the same time, you may clearly feel that he is also exerting all his strength to balance his body, even if it is difficult or about to tilt. At this moment, the young man in black sportswear immediately ran over and without saying a word, helped the old man's other arm and settled down. What do you feel at this moment when you see this scene? Perhaps there is a question. This man may know an elderly person. After landing safely, the young man asked the old man a question. Old man, do you dare to ask who you are this year? 99. The old man gestured with his hands as he spoke, even though his fingers couldn't bend down. He thanked you with a smile, which completely dispelled your worries. You feel deeply joyful about this. On the one hand, it is the joy of helping others for yourself, and on the other hand, it is the joy of the elderly being so old and still so healthy. The man left. And you are still in place. Before he left, he told you that this thing was bought for his wife. Without your help, he might have to wait for an hour, and his wife would have passed away with regret. I don't know if it's true or false, but upon hearing these words, your heart may be inexplicably moved. The beauty of the world may only be like this, when you are enjoying truth, goodness, and beauty happily. Your friend appears at this moment and tells you not to pay attention to such troubles in the future, because you don't know if he really needs help, and people who are too kind are easily deceived. But now that society is changing rapidly and people's quality has greatly improved, why is there such a moral condemnation? After you told your friends about this matter, they all advised you to be careful. From then on, when you encounter someone who falls or lies on the roadside, you never pay attention to them again, even if there is moral condemnation in your heart. If you didn't agree to cut in line or support the elderly person for eye contact at that time, and were just filmed by someone, what would be waiting for you? If given the prerequisite, it can be proven that you extended a helping hand out of goodwill, would you still choose to assist? No support. On the one hand, I cannot guarantee that my helping hand will be of any use to them. On the other hand, even if I can prove my good intentions at the moment, there are many tricks of scammers. How can I protect myself? Besides, people have no obligation to help him, and whether to help or not should not be the standard of morality, otherwise what is the difference with moral kidnapping? At present, people really like the morality of just a few words and one leaf obstructing the eyes, but the detestable online violence also comes in this way, especially traffic and capital. Good people can also be said to be bad people, but the truth behind it is not explored. Perhaps it is precisely for this reason that more people become indifferent and unwilling to speak up. Everyone has no obligation to help others, but it is due to external pressure that they have such an obligation. Goodwill should not become a knife that harms others. Living in this well-intentioned society, everyone is free, and moral kidnapping should not become a weapon of murder. I have heard the saying, no matter how cold it is, the heart cannot be cold, no matter how warm it is, the heart cannot be cold. Don't let obligation become an accomplice in kidnapping you. Chapter 8 Chronicles. The Sick Lament on August 6th. You are listening at novelfull.audio. August 6th, 2023. At 3 a.m., earthquake. Weak earthquake. At 5 in the morning, there was a rainstorm. The rain came in time and washed away the prolonged hot weather. In the afternoon, the bright sun first appeared. The weather is particularly comfortable today. Diluted the heat of the midsummer and brought the coolness of autumn. Lingering in my ears are the whispers of autumn. Sitting on the bus, the mottled sunlight hit me like a comic strip, as if playing childhood memories. The blue sky and white clouds today, like oil paintings, are no longer the same as those of those years. They are clean but not pure, but they gently wrap around me with memories of the past. I took deep breaths, trying to recall the joy of childhood, one after another, afraid of losing this familiar flavor. That's right, as always, with a fresh sunny taste, a clear blue sky taste, and a cool breeze. The person riding the bike on the road is still that young man, but it's just a bit taller. The bus turns, and the sign of the department store at the intersection hangs high, still gray stones, pieced together one after another. The slightly yellowish surface witnesses the flow of time, changes in history, and changes in society. Buses that don't start with a letter K are also equipped with air conditioning, and fashionable elderly people come up one after another. I guess they must have been young too. Look, their every frown and smile, every gesture and gesture reveals their youthful and energetic appearance, forming a particularly sharp contrast with the fashionable youths outside the window. The brief pause of traffic lights, the fashionable young people outside the window are walking towards us, heading towards the distance. Or towards the future of oneself. At the next stop, the newly arrived boy searched everywhere for a suitable position. He hesitated for a moment in the seats for the elderly, young, disabled, and pregnant, then hesitated for a moment in the back seat. Finally, he chose the front seat. The vehicle was moving forward, and the young man's gaze turned towards the distance. Following his gaze, the traffic kept flowing, the voices were clamoring, and neon lights were bustling. The old man next to me couldn't understand the thoughts of the young man, so he turned his head and kept watching me right, the distant youth. I think maybe she was also recalling her young man in full bloom at that time. For half an hour, I took the bus and had a romantic waiting encounter with this city. Everyone will eventually have their differences, and the next stop is time to get off. Following the footsteps of the sunshine, I kept walking and stopped. As I stood at the intersection of a high-rise building, I looked up. Suddenly remembered, a few months ago, the first time I went to a strange city was at a crossroads. I looked up at the tall buildings, took out my phone, turned on the camera, searched for angles, and recorded my photos. But now, this is also a building several tens of meters high. Why don't you take photos? Is only big cities worth taking photos of? Of course not. Because this has deeply imprinted in my mind, the cornerstone of the building is built on my heart. After walking for a while, I couldn't help but sigh. The weather is really nice, neither hot nor cold. Later on, I went to a milk tea shop on the roadside and ordered a cup of peaches for the 4 seasons of spring, without ice or sugar, because I didn't want to feel the sadness of autumn in the future. Their bills are very long, almost all of them are takeout from Meituan, and I just want to marvel at how different it is now. Finally, it's my turn to feel the half-sugar of spring in the bitter autumn. After spinning around, I decided to ride my bike back home. The sunset in summer is always long, and the afterglow shines brightly on the sky. Under the orange sky, birds also freely fly in groups, circling back and forth, as if unable to suppress their kisses towards the sky. Orange-red, light pink, light blue, interwoven together, this is the pride of the Dusk Master and also the pride of the Time Master. I think I have also been proud and free to run freely under this sky. That's right, I can really keep running. Chapter 9. Secrets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On May 11, 2026, I will walk towards a spiral staircase leading to God. In the empty room, under the shattered moonlight, the diary lay quietly on the bed, with its owner's secret recorded in beautiful small regular script May 10, 2024 2.49. The woman named Ning Ji has never had the impulse to kill like last night. Dozens of practical and feasible methods of killing flashed through my mind. The knife is right next to her pillow, just open the box, take it out, and the world will become quiet. But she can't do that. Entangled, angry, resentful, struggling, sad, anxious. Various emotions mixed together, Ning Ji rushed into the bathroom, her hair messy, squatting in a corner, holding her head in both hands, panting heavily, as if there were countless maggots crawling inside her body, the pain unbearable. After a long time, when the inner turmoil stopped surging, Ning Ji returned to bed, opened her phone, and flipped through her chat records with Li Dongzi. Zopiclone. That is a sedative and hypnotic prescription drug for mental health. Previously, Ning Ji didn't understand why he mentioned this medication, but now it seems that he has a serious mental illness. Perhaps she can make good use of it. At this moment, the seed of evil fell into her heart and began to take root and sprout. The next day, Ning Ji woke up early and her mental state was no different from usual, still the gentle and kind girl among his people. Washing up, going to the bathroom, dressing up, having breakfast, writing a diary. Ning Ji is doing mechanical content day after day. It's just that today's diary has an extra line of words than usual. If I were to step out of a world where time is no longer measured by space, then everyone present would be the culprit. Time is like a dwelling, and through the daily efforts of ordinary people, the ordinary Ning Ji has also become a well-known figure in the online literary circle. The unknown secret about her gradually came to light. Boyfriend Li Dongzi also successfully landed and was recommended to study abroad. May 11, 2025 1.57. Dongzi, did you kill someone? Me, am I a murderer? A person stumbled and sat on the ground. Li Dongzi turned his head in fear, pointing to the unnamed female corpse, feeling panicked. No. I didn't kill anyone, Ning Ji. Why did you falsely accuse me? Her death was because of you. You personally handed over Zopiclone to her. I don't know her. Ning Ji approached Li Dongzi step by step, leaned in his ear, and said word by word, she is a character in my pen. Suddenly, she burst out laughing. You're breaking the law. You're already famous, why do you do this? Because I can finally control my own death. Ning Ji's face was as frosty as ice, her eyes lifeless, her hair messy, and her clothes ragged. She slowly stood up from the shattered glass on the ground, barefoot stepping on the glass debris, and step by step walked towards the balcony, opening the window. Through the mist, a soft stream of light shone on her face, as if soothing her soul, and as if a destined call. Ning Ji turned around, her mouth curved in an extremely gloomy manner. Dongzi, goodbye. After speaking, without hesitation, he jumped down. The current time is 2:00 Eastern 8th District Time on May 11, 2025. The man was very panicked and at a loss, unsure of what to do for a moment. Yes, call the police. 207. The police arrived, Ning Ji was taken to the hospital, and Li Dongzi was taken to the police station for questioning. 4:50. Ning Ji's rescue was successful, Li Dongzi was acquitted, and the unnamed female corpse was just a fake model. Li Dongzi was startled all night, but that night he learned the undisclosed secret about Ning Ji. He is a person who holds grudges, even her girlfriend is no exception. So, he sold this secret to paparazzi. The next day, the incident of Ning Ji jumping from her boyfriend's house immediately made headlines. Famous novelist Ning Ji has such a shocking secret. The little-known side behind legendary novelists. Why is her writing real? The reason is actually this. Since that day, the two have broken up and never met again. For a year, Ning Ji lay down in the hospital and completed her new work, Secrets, which mainly tells the story of the ordinary girl protagonist L.V. Farong, who endured various things in her life and eventually suffocated herself to death. When we met again, it was already a year later. The two met by chance in a supermarket in a certain country. Being in a foreign land and meeting each other is fate, the two of them started chatting and chatted all the way to the shopping checkout. Along the way, Ning Ji glanced at Li Dongzi's bag intentionally or unintentionally. Still taking medicine? Ning Ji joked. Li Dongzi scratched the back of his head and said with a smile, "You know, I don't sleep well. You're just putting too much pressure on yourself. Don't think about all sorts of things every day, learn to relax when you have nothing to do. By the way, haven't you found a foreign girlfriend?" Li Dongzi didn't speak, just smiled. "Go to my house and sit down." Li Dongzi quickly waved his hand. "Why, are you still resentful of what happened to me last year? Thanks to you, my secret was able to sell well and become the best-selling novel in the past 6 months. To thank you, I will treat you to a meal whatever I say." Seeing that Li Dongzi didn't react, Ning Ji immediately pulled him into her car. "Let's go, not to my house. Let's take you to a top restaurant in a certain country and taste the local cuisine from a foreign land." Unable to refuse Ning Ji's enthusiasm, the two drove straight to the top floor of a top restaurant. There is only one room on the top floor, romantic, elegant, high-end, and stylish. Climbing up the spiral staircase, the two sat down and ordered their meals. In less than 10 minutes, all the dishes were served and everything seemed to be prepared in advance. The two of them quietly enjoyed the delicious food. Suddenly, the appearance of a woman shattered the silence. Unknown female corpse. When Li Dongzi lowered his head to cut the steak, he accidentally looked up at the ceiling and realized that something seemed to be staring at him. Looking again, that is the face of an unnamed female corpse. He looked at Ning Ji in horror, only to realize that she had such similar facial features to the unnamed female corpse. Ning Ji picked up the dining knife and cut open his artery with lightning speed. Immediately after, Ning Ji walked back to her position, sobbing, crying loudly, shouting in despair until her throat became hoarse and unable to make a sound. A person's silent convulsions. The splendid wall left bloodshot finger marks. Red eyes bleed, she loses her sanity, the world turns red, and in the blink of an eye, she has become a madman. Raise the gun, aim the muzzle at the head, and the wall is splattered with blood. The woman lying in the pool of blood has a big mouth open, afraid only of herself. Until the police arrived, there was already silence here. A disorganized house, broken photo frames, and a heart-wrenching sight. A gun, a thing, a room, 2 people. This is happiness from hell. As for her secret, it has never been a secret. However, after some rendering, it became a secret. Chapter 10. I am a fish. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I am a fish. My head is slightly pointed, my body is flat on the side, my back edge is straight, my belly edge is slightly curved, my back is bluish-gray, my fish scales are silver-white, my tail edge is gray-black, and all other fins are light yellow. On sunny days, the body will reflect the light of the sun, which is exceptionally dazzling. Yes, I am a white note. That's right, it's the white striped fish that fishermen hate to the bone. I am small and greedy, so I cannot catch their eye. However, my appearance rate is extremely high and I am disliked by fishermen. Therefore, they named me White Minnow Ghost. My temper is very impatient. As long as there is bait, I will go all out to grab food. Although I am small in stature, my nose is very sensitive, my body is agile, and I enjoy traveling with large armies. Therefore, whenever we appear, it will disrupt the mood of fishermen and become their nightmare. Of course, I don't think it's up to us. Who makes those fishermen like to use fishy bait like earthworms? Our nature is to occupy the favorable time, location, and fish, and we don't rush to take the bait. Who takes the bait? Specifically, it is emphasized that according to your theory of evolution, it is this nature that makes us so greedy to adapt to the environment. Therefore, why should fishermen vent their anger on us? Just like when a mountain fire occurs, do you blame the flammability of trees or the person who set the fire? Will you blame the nature of air-assisted combustion or the cigarette butts thrown away by others? Not only that, it's enough to leave us out of our living environment. Why throw us on the ground? We are indeed impatient, but how can there be a fish that can survive without water? As high-oxygen fish, we will die quickly without water. In summer, we are almost dehydrated and die. Therefore, why do you deliberately fish us out of the water, place us on the pond between inches, and torture us to death? Unfortunately, I became one of them. That day, as usual, I freely followed the large army and played around. Suddenly, the fragrance came from somewhere, and my relatives and friends rushed towards that direction with all their might. Although we know it's a trap, we still can't bear the temptation of delicious food. After a fierce competition, I successfully bit the hook, and the moment my mouth was pierced by the hook, I knew that I had become the head fish that the school of fish envied, as well as the stinky fish that fishermen detested. Why did you catch such a fish after fishing for half a day? That person rudely took me off the hook and threw me into a world surrounded by barriers. My active habit causes me to run into walls everywhere, and due to lack of oxygen, I feel restless. But this barrier is too high for me to get out. Of course, there is only one dead end for me to go out. It's really ridiculous. The fish from my hometown want to go out and see, and the fish from my hometown want to go back home. Perhaps this is the punishment for my gluttony. Anyway, everyone is dead, why not follow nature and just go home? Thinking this way, in an instant, my eyes darkened a bit again. Can't I get out? Half an hour later, I was caught and taken to another place where I could hit a wall. Where are shrimp, seashells, and my own kind? The only thing lacking is oxygen. But they don't seem to know. From then on, I lived a life of fear and anxiety, with not only daily collisions but also loud noises. Encouraged by our friends, we are trying to escape from here every day. Although going out is also death, I want to die more freely. The feeling of being bound is too uncomfortable, suffocating the fish. One day, my friends in this environment left me overnight. Their bodies floated back and forth in front of me as I swam. My friend emits the scent of his body, day after day, above my head. Finally, I decided to choose a comfortable environment and no longer try to escape from here. I sink underground every day and occasionally swim. This has taken me a long time. I thought I could easily walk towards the end, but to my surprise, they forced me to swim. Stirring the murky and foul-smelling water, watching me swimming at a loss, they made a sound that made the scales and bones of the fish shiver. Unable to withstand high-intensity swimming, I chose to become a leisurely fish and somehow reached the surface of the water, floating with my bulky friend. Originally, the weak prey the strong. Originally, their nature is to enjoy chaos. Originally, they would also be greedy. So, one day they will also float with me. So, I can only blame myself for being a fish. So, what is the pleasure of fish? Is it greed, freedom, or... Okay, the child is not a fish, and I know the joy of fish.